This video is about the kind of guy we should all root for, the kind of guy who gave up one dream to pursue another. But he did it not just for himself, but more importantly, he did it for his family and for a loved one. You should pull for a guy like him regardless of if he played for one of your favorite teams or country. This guy waited for his chance and fought and persevered through his initial failures and setbacks to achieve all that he accomplished in his career. See, for former Uruguay international Diego Forlán, his first love was tennis. But then an event happened when young Diego was 12 years old that would change the trajectory of his life forever. His sister, Alejandra, was in a horrible car accident, one that would take the life of her boyfriend who was with her, and would leave her paralyzed and handicapped. Medical costs would soar and insurmountable bills ensued. Then came help. Diego is from a family of footballers. His grandfather, Juan Carlos Carrazzo, was a player himself and also managed the Uruguayan national team in the 1962 World Cup. Diego's father, Pablo Forlán, was also a player who once played with another Diego named Diego Maradona. Maradona witnessed the dire situation of the Forlán family and offered help. Around this time, Diego Forlán himself made the pivotal decision to switch from tennis to football, so that he might be able to help the family financially once he made it. After a spell at 2 clubs in Uruguay as a youth player, Forlán's first attempt at entering European football came at the French club AS Nancy. But after a few months there, he failed to impress and was not offered a contract. He then signed with Argentine club Independiente and, after debuting at the senior level, managed to register 37 goals in 80 matches. This was Forlán's first breakthrough as a professional footballer. A number of European clubs took notice of Forlán's performances, and the Premier League club Middlesbrough had all agreed terms with the Uruguayan until a certain big club from Manchester came snooping in at the last minute with a higher salary offer. And just like that, young Diego was a Red Devil and would be calling Old Trafford his home. To put it mildly, success came incredibly difficult to come by for Forlán. He did not register a single goal in his first 6 months and found it difficult to gain the confidence of his manager, Sir Alex Ferguson, who would often bring him on from the bench, thereby limiting his playing time. But Diego felt like he needed more time to get more opportunities to score, but he wasn't going to get more playing time unless he scored. It was a catch-22 of sorts, and it was a vicious cycle. Deadly Dutch striker Ruud van Nistelrooy was the main man at the time at Man United, and there was also Ole Gunnar Solskjaer ahead of him in the pecking order. So Forlán had to settle for being the backup off the bench. He managed to squeeze 6 league goals in his first full season at Manchester, but he also at one time went 8 months and 27 appearances without a goal. And for Sir Alex and Man United, patience was starting to wear thin. By the way, speaking of Forlán and goals, Forlán had a habit of taking his shirt off to celebrate after scoring a goal. You might be surprised to know that the rule FIFA instituted in 2003, where if a player takes his shirt off to celebrate after a goal results in a yellow card, was actually put in because of Forlán. Back to the story. The second season at Manchester did not go any better for Forlán. His struggles to get consistent playing time and find the net continued, and when the club signed teenage prodigy Wayne Rooney from Everton to play with Van Nistelrooy, Forlán's time at Man United and in England was finished. First in France and now in England, Forlán had seemingly fallen short and had not met up to expectations. Looking back, it may have been the pace of play in England and in France that Forlán just was not up to more than anything else. Some players from South America and also other parts of the world have trouble keeping up with the pace of play in the Premier League. Forlán himself said in an interview after he retired that the speed level in South America is a bit slower than in Europe. I was very young. Regardless of what the reason may have been for his struggles, Forlán needed a fresh start elsewhere. But Forlán then moved to Spanish La Liga's Villarreal, and here his career would take on a sudden and incredible upturn. There have been many players over the years who struggled to impress in England's Premier League, but would go elsewhere to another league and find their game and rise to stardom. Forlán would become the classic example of this, a player who leaves the Premier League and immediately finds his game and success. Forlan wasted zero time in getting acclimated to his new club and the new league. In the 2005-2006 season, he would shock everyone by finishing as the leading scorer in the La Liga with 25 goals, including a hat-trick against the Champions League winners of that season, Barcelona. He would become the European Golden Boot winner along with Thierry Henry of Arsenal. When Forlan was at Man United, no one would have ever dared to compare the Uruguayan to the French striker. Now he was being mentioned alongside the names of the best players in Europe. Forlan would attribute this newfound success to getting to play the full 90 minutes regularly. When I went to Spain, I played right away, 90 minutes today, then 5 days of rest, then 90 minutes again, so it was easy for me. I had the chance to play, Forlan said. Or maybe the style of play in Spain suited him more. The pace is a bit slower, and that perhaps provides technical players like Forlan a bit more time to do his thing. It could also have been the presence of the Argentine midfielder and playmaker Juan Román Riquelme, whose passing, creativity and vision would benefit any forward who might be on the pitch with him. Whatever the reason may have been, it was a stunning turnaround. Forlan would go on to play 2 more seasons for the team the fans call the Yellow Submarine. He would end up becoming a beloved legend there before moving to another Spanish club, Atletico Madrid, to replace another striker, Fernando Torres, who had departed for Liverpool. With Madrid, Forlan would continue his great scoring form, with his best season coming in the 2008-2009 season when he poured in an astounding 32 goals. We had a tendency to be numb back in those days from hearing the stats of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo and their astronomical goal production. But it is an incredible accomplishment to score 30 or more goals in a season in any league. In La Liga, there have only been a handful of other players who have accomplished that feat, with names such as Brazilian Ronaldo, Romario, Samuel Eto'o, Hugo Sanchez, Di Stefano, and so on. Now, Forlan had joined that exclusive list, and if you think about how much he struggled earlier in his career, it makes that accomplishment all the more amazing. In 2011, Forlan made a switch to Italian giants Inter Milan. He struggled in his loan season in the Serie A, in part due to an injury and also under the tight marking of the Italian defences. Forlan also claimed he was played out of his usual position. It did not help either that in that 2011-2012 season, Inter Milan struggled mightily and went through 3 managers. So between his loss of form and also the lack of stability within the team, Forlan had a year to forget on Italy. One of the things that has always intrigued me was just how much talent a country like Uruguay, a country with an estimated population of 3.5 million, continues to churn out over the years and generations. Uruguay has won 2 World Cups and has a great winning history and heritage. If you think about the last 20 or 25 years in football, they have produced some of the best talent in the world, especially strikers. Guys like Luis Suarez, Edison Cavani and Diego Forlan have been the premier players for their respective clubs and Uruguay. With the exception of Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, you can put the numbers put up by Suarez, Cavani and Forlan up against anyone else's, and they do not pale in comparison at all. In the 2010 World Cup, Forlan scored 5 goals and was the joint top scorer in the tournament. In that tournament, Uruguay had their moment of controversy when Luis Suarez seemed to commit a deliberate handball to try to prevent the Ghana team from scoring. That play and the subsequent worldwide outcry as a result put a blemish on what was otherwise an outstanding tournament for the Uruguayan national team. You can easily say that with a few different bounces of the ball here and there, Uruguay could have gone farther in the tournament. After his spell at Inter Milan, Forlan had brief spells in Brazil, Japan, India, Hong Kong and his boyhood club back in Uruguay, Peñarol. He hung up his boots in 2019 and he has had a few coaching stops after that as well. He also now spends time honing his skill at his first love, tennis. Forlan apparently never lost his love for tennis, claiming that when he played for Atletico, he sometimes played with pro golfer Sergio Garcia, who is a close friend of his. Forlan's career is a real life lesson in perseverance. He never gave up, and because of that, he ended up being very successful after several tries and setbacks. His ability to stick with it allowed him to eventually enjoy a brilliant career with some top clubs and his national team. Forlan himself said after his career ended, "Anybody can play football. Sometimes what you need to achieve your goal is mental strength." That could indeed be a valuable message to anyone in any field or profession.